Ladies and gentlemen, housekeeping of DBDLeague. There was Boil Over, a generally banned perk, so a half of the hook stage is deducted from Euphoria. That means if they have the same amount of gens later and the killers achieved the same amount of hook stages, the team with the penalty will lose. We are aware that the restart came in quite late and we apologize on our behalf, but you know, sometimes when you're busy with all the stream, moderating the chat, discussing certain add-ons, and even giving some additional information to the casters, then the workload is quite high, and it's possible that one perk is overlooked for a little bit. If then additionally the players are also slow on reacting on the called restart, then it takes a little bit longer. Nothing to worry about. Our rules state that the game wouldn't count anyway, so it doesn't matter how long the match moves forward. No one is going to take a disadvantage. The appropriate penalties have been enforced, and therefore we can now enjoy our Nia trying to be sneaky there behind the water tower, and is going to receive the first, how do we even call that? The first backpack of the Singularity there on the eye, and immediately the teleport there as well into the shackle does make that, so good start for this one.
Yeah, our survivors here doing a good job of at least making sure they're staying upright. We can see 2/3 of that corrupt intervention has expired, even 3/4 of that thing. It's only 90 seconds now, so we know we've been in this trial here for a little over a minute, but Nia doing a good job of getting to the middle of the map, buying some space maybe on the outskirts to get some of these gens done. With that, you might be able to make the pallet, but it doesn't matter. The pallet doesn't really affect it in the fact that it doesn't, I should say it does affect it in the fact that you've at least been able to avoid the one swing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. This one is not coming in, and Jukebox now being a little bit too optimistic. EasyAlic, however, does overpeak on the pallet and is now going down. That is going to be Lincoln around as well, has been located, injury applied as well. Jukebox will now go and takes the first hook stage. 2 generators done though, so Euphoria, 3 gens. Euphoria in a way better position this time. So looking really good. Jukebox unfortunately changed his strategy also. We haven't seen them going once again so, yeah, like taking a good decision. What survivor first? We took immediately chase with the first survivor and followed them. So maybe this change in the tactic didn't work out too well.
But you have been able to at least bounce back a little bit here. You've been able to get yourself a second down relatively quickly. We did see that the unhook did come across to the other side, and you're also having the reset coming in over there. So that does mean no one to come in for a pallet save here on this survivor. But that also means that your third survivor, No Trill, the ace, has had plenty of time to, well, do the easiest thing when it comes to Dead by Daylight. Hold M1, hit some skill checks. Now we've got people who are at least showing face, which means this chase will not be going towards that generator, and that should be a 3rd gen popping relatively soon.
Yeah, I do expect the same. The generator is definitely under attack here, and even though we see Arima and EasyAlic around the hook, there's still one additional survivor who can work on the objectives in the meanwhile. Jukebox scouting the map once again, has a pop, goes to Weasel Kick. The question is, do you have the time to go for a generator and apply that kick, because you really want to make sure that you take care of the survivors going around. Ace, exactly as we predicted, sitting far away, almost in total safety on one of these generators. Killers going for the teleport. Kate is getting this, I'm going to call this backpack now, is getting that off. Injury applied though. Survivor running into the hook kinda, so Singularity might be able to take advantage of it. But yeah, we are going for the tunnel strategy here.
Yeah, and it makes a lot of sense here. You'd want to try and see if you can get this thing down to a 3v1 relatively soon. The only problem is with Ronaldo did do a really good job of holding Shift W, getting over to this side of the map, which should buy some space for generator number 4 to get plenty of progress. You've also got the fact that you've gone from one side of the map to the other. You should also allow your last reset as far as on Arena there. So there's generator 4. Wouldn't be surprised to see either the reset or generator number 5 here shortly.
Absolutely, yeah. There's now going to be the 3rd hook stage coming in, and That's the difficult thing, right? If you go for this tunnel out strategy, as understandable as this strategy is, because it would be great to face only 3 survivors, if you don't get it done in time and the survivor team is too efficient on the generators, then you are in the difficult spot. You don't get a lot of hook stages, you also don't get a lot of individual survivors, and that seems to be the case right here. So Jukebox can only go for the tunnel out on Lincoln now if they are sure that there won't be the final generator in time. And I think Jukebox realized that it's not going to be the case, is now switching targets onto Nia.
Yeah, we've seen there DBDLeague was able to at least build some distance with that sprinto bursto, able to make their way back over towards the main building. That way, once you do get that M1, you can just kind of use that big tile there, but that's not going to slow down our Singularity. That doesn't slow down Jukebox's spreading this pressure. Now 3 injured survivors across the way, able to get the teleport to the backpack here as well, and that should be just enough to be able to get the M1, and there it is. Another down, another fresh hook here.
That is now exactly what Jukebox needs for Team Misery. We need additional hook stages. And with a fresh hook, if they would get the final generator, now you could at least camp that and have 2 additional stages coming in for yourself. But we do see this gen here not with the biggest progress. Survivors need time for the reset as well. They are now going to work on it. So 90 seconds over there on the Gallows area. But look at the generator spread queue. That is really not a gen setup you're looking for as a killer towards the end game.
This is going to be tough here. I mean, what you do? Oh, you've been able to find yourself a survivor here, Dire. Might be able to still pull things back just a little bit. I mean, all of these gens, at least not in the saloon side, so you can cut off, what, a third of your map maybe here, but this is going to still be tough. You're working on both sides of the street. It's still a 4v1. And also worth noting, because of the way that your build is set up, your hope was if you could acquire more of those fresh hooks, get more of that pain res, and maybe be able to slow down the middle of the game just a little bit. Just unfortunately, our survivor is able to be super efficient.
Now we are going to see the next down. Jukebox really getting into the dynamic now, really able to put the pressure on them, finding the reset here as well. It is so huge, so good that Nia has the sprint burst, but unfortunately not able to go for anything. I was a little bit worried at the beginning because Jukebox didn't have the best start, and I was saying if all the Misery fans would say now, hey, that is only because of the restart, now it's going all wrong. No, ladies and gentlemen, keep in mind, if there is a wrong perk, the first trial doesn't even count. It doesn't matter when we catch it and how much you have seen of the game, it didn't count. So this is where Jukebox needs to deliver. Also keep in mind there was a penalty. So still, I was worried about it, but Jukebox really, really shining now. Took a couple of minutes until getting in this trial here, but now coming out quite dominant.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of where you have the ability to flex when you have real good control as the Singularity, right? You've got the point where your bipods are all set up. You've got yourself a nice little web of where you can monitor, figure out where the other survivors are. And also, too, you'll notice that all of our survivors still have their backpacks as well. So it makes them even easier to track. Makes it so you can really get anywhere across the map here as well. So you have the ability to really pump the brakes, and you're going to be able to find Not Real. Was getting in close for the save, not going to be able to get it done. This is going to be a forced elimination.
Yeah, and it's a really understandable decision by our killer here. Finally, you are able to reduce the survivor team by 1 character, and having 3 survivors is turning the game into such a misery for the team, because they have to take care of the generators, they have someone on the hook, and then the 3rd survivor already goes into the chase. So the person needs to leave the generator, coming over for the rescue, and at that point, a 3 survivor team is dropping the efficiency down to 0. So really, really hope that our team Euphoria is finding a good solution here. Something that is giving me hope for them is the fact that the 3-gen setup for Jukebox is really rough here.
Yeah, well, it's not the best 3-gen for Jukebox, but I mean, especially with the Singularity, the 3-gen, not always necessarily the most important. I mean, as you can see there, you can put pressure across the map, right? Depending on the web of your bipods itself, you're going to be able to find Not Real. You'll be able to get the injury there. Also, now going to be able to get one of those backpacks there right back onto Lincoln here, which should make it a little bit tougher for them to put pressure onto that generator. We do see, as far as for Arena, they're going to be able to get their backpack off here, and we've only got Not Real who's injured, so if Jukebox happens to find them, that could be big. You also see that this pod has nothing available to it, which means Arena has a little bit more time and awareness to get away from this gen, but if you play patient, this is where you can force the survivors to potentially make a mistake.
I really love, Q, that you jumped in with me on the backpack term for whatever they have on their back there, because there's probably a very nice term from the game developers, but it's too fancy.
Nope, it's a backpack now.
Nope, it's a backpack, yeah. They need to change it. But really, once again, Jukebox also changed the playstyle a little bit. We are not seeing this aggressive chase after one survivor anymore. We really make multiple decisions now. Always going into chase with someone, still having a look around in the map. Is there maybe a survivor in a better spot where the hit is guaranteed? How much time do I have? Reconsidering a lot of decisions, but needs to be careful because Mia, Kate, I believe, who just dropped here from the generator, is constantly putting in some progress. And if they keep splitting it up here between the houses and the gallows area, it is almost going to be, yeah, there she is immediately again. Really great coordination here by Team Euphoria.
Yeah, and you're able to get the second angle as well, which means you put that pressure directly across the map. However, I have a feeling that Not Real and Lincoln, yeah, they're doubled up over here, but they both got backpacks, which means Jukebox is over here now all of a sudden. All three survivors are injured. A lot of pressure, and now having the ability to shut down a lot of these loops, close the distance whenever any of your survivors happen to build it here. Even if you're working through windows, it doesn't matter. And Jukebox gonna be able to get one down. You check in on the generator over here. That fourth piston doesn't have any motion to it, so you know you have at least a little bit of time. And you're gonna go ahead and go for your other slug over here for Not Real. The pallet doesn't matter. 2 slugs down, and I think we might see the slug for the 4K.
I remember this always triggered me, that Singularity can ignore the pallet right after teleporting. It always triggered me. And I can tell that the survivors are not 100% fine with it either, because they always were looking for safety here, knowing that there's a pallet next to the generator, but it doesn't help if Singularity has just teleported onto the next down is coming in. And I do believe that Jukebox is well aware where Arima is running, so very likely that we are going to see the 4K here with the generator remaining. And in this case, the tie condition wouldn't necessarily, the penalty wouldn't necessarily matter, because then all Misery has to do is finishing all 5 gens and they would go for the win here. So just from how it sounds written on the paper, it's a luxury win condition.
Yeah, but we do say quite often that we are able to make it sound a lot easier than it is when we say just complete the gens, especially when we see what Jukebox was able to do in this trial. And it's even something that I was kind of pointing out during both campfire chats. We talked about the Singularity. It's not so much the early game that you really expect to see that pressure, but in that mid to mid-late-ish portion of the trial, you can really punish mistakes. Able to come on down here. You can't get in that locker. There's no safety. Get up on up out of there, and let's put you up on a hook.
Very nice mind game there by Jukebox on the main building. That's going to be our Not Real getting hooked. Oh no, that was Arima. Not Real is still on the ground. Lincoln's still on the ground. So we are going to collect our slugs together here. That's the difficult part when you are going for such a strategy, but I'm sure our kid is well aware where they are located. No random hatch as well, as we are forcing the hatch spawn location in DBDL to reduce that RNG factor, and it doesn't matter anyway because Not Real has already been detected. So 4 gens done from Team Euphoria. That means Misery, very easy win condition in terms of remembering it. All Misery has to do is getting 5 gens done, but as Q pointed out, very justified. It sounds a lot easier and it looks a lot easier than it is, especially if the early game doesn't go too well, and then in the mid game the kid are really falling into that dynamic, really taking up the pressure. So Q, one question before we move on here. As the survivor team of Misery, how are you trying to play this to make sure it's definitely going to be all gens completed?
You gotta play DBD the quote unquote boring way, which is just very safe, right? You gotta make sure that you're pre-leaving gens. I think we saw there a little bit towards the middle where our survivors were doing a little bit better of a job of using those EMPs to kind of buy more time to create a little bit extra space on the generators to get some progress onto them, but maybe just too little too late. It's going to take a team effort though, for sure. So I'm gonna be excited to see how they respond. I know you're waiting to see how they respond as well, so we'll be right back with that next trial here on the Deadest of Dogs right after a quick break. All right, let's go ahead and take another trip here back into the fog one more time out here to the Deadest of Dogs out in the wild, wild west. It's going to be not real. Rocking the Singularity here, needing to make sure that you're able to shut this game down before the 5th gen pops, which of course means as far as for our survivors over on the Misery side, you just gotta get all the gens done. And I mean, just getting gens done, that's the easy part, right, Dyer?
Absolutely, and with the penalty, 4 gens would be enough, so you don't even need to get all of them. You can ignore a 3-gen setup on the Deadlock Saloon, because if they then get 4K'd, it would be 12-12 on the hook stages, and then we have a half of a stage penalty, so 11.5 for Euphoria. So let's see how they are playing this, because sometimes, we also saw in the past, if these survivors are in a what we would call luxury win condition, they became a little bit less careful, and then things fell apart quite quickly.
We see this first chase going to be taken over here at the water tower. Going to go ahead and try and see if you can get the second attachment on the backpack. Not going to be the case here. Going to be able to at least continue this chase towards our little filler pallet here. Not real, not going to fall for that though. Going to continue working the way around. No pallets in sight, which means our first M1 on the Cheese. She's going to go ahead and keep taking this chase into main. I like this idea to go all the way through. I think we heard EMP there as well, which means our team is doing a good job coordinating, which is exactly what you need to do against the Singularity.
We are seeing the first chase here on the main building. Usually a strong tile, especially these long corridors, are making it needed for the killer to take a long pathway and waste some time, especially when there is head-on support as well. Missed the chance to teleport immediately. Now it's going to work out on the survivor who just entered the street. But Misery really organized right now, taking quite some time from the killer. A few of them now with their backpacks, as we decided to call it in the last trial. But so far, absolutely looking good here for our team. Misery. Now there's going to be the teleport onto the back of Adam, but we are getting a little bit confused where he ran to. Needs a little 360 to catch him back. We are going to see the vault on the shack, so no injury on another survivor just yet. That is leaving just Cheese, and honestly, they can go for a heal there quite easily.
Yeah, gonna be able to now at least for apply to forehead. Does a good job of not throwing that pallet laugh. They've already come into play there. Making sure you build a little bit of additional distance, and should be able to make this pallet here in front of main building as well. Get stunned stupid, plus 10 wood added to the face, but of course carrying that backpack makes it very easy for Not Real to get right back into chase. You can see tries to get to the window, just not in time. First M1 comes across, still taking this chase back towards the actual water tower though, so buying room for up in that front right hand portion of our map for some gens to get done.
And there is now going to be the chase onto our Adam, and that's actually going to land. I was stuck there a little bit with my voice because it was like, there's no way that he is going to swing for that, but it actually going to land straight applied to his forehead, we could say. We do see that there's going to be the 3rd generator, so just one away from the win condition here. Time for a heal for Team Misery as well. And Q, either our killer is going to upgrade his performance by 200% right now, or the survivor team has to do a mistake, because Misery is way too strong right now.
Yeah, I think we're seeing right now why this was Misery's pick, correct? I want to make sure I'm around that. I think we're seeing why it was. We talked about the risks that you were taking, but you also mentioned that you felt like if you were to be bringing this in, it was having a good understanding, not just of the killer side, which we did definitely see from Jukebox, but we're seeing a really good utilization of the teamwork when it comes to operating with the EMPs. We saw it in the first chase. Your very first chase, your person already had a backpack, but they run into somebody with an EMP, they knock that off. That first chase lasts longer, which means you get more gen work done, and the pressure just starts to build from there. I mean, at this point, you do get another down if you're not real, but it feels like you're so far behind, especially it feels like we're so close to seeing generator number 4 popping.
Yeah, the final generator in terms of the win condition is definitely around the corner. You can feel that as a killer because you are calculating all these seconds you need for these chases and applying the next hook stage, and I'm very confident that our killer is aware that it takes a little bit too long right now to get these hook stages collected. So we do need a ton of more work here for our killer. We do see that he's trying to install all of these observation tools, but the survivors are just not allowing it. They are too quick on the resets. They are too aware of their surroundings. And once again, it's going to be Feng moving in. And if this is not almost a 2-tap, it's going to look horrendous.
And the tough part is you are chasing Cheese, who already has the EMP. You can see shot comes across, but already EMP means that you can take that thing right off. Unfortunately, you did have another one of those bipod shooters here in main building. Very, very big use of that life there, as you can see, to be able to build additional space off that window. I'll tell you what, but you can understand why Not Real wouldn't want to take that chase. You have to protect these gens. You need to find some way to snowball this thing, but unfortunately, Misery seems to have an answer for everything getting thrown their way.
Yeah, that's a good metaphor use there. Everything is being thrown into their way, and yet going to work around on the survivor side really good with it. Jukebox is going to take it once again here. He's able to reach that pallet. Our killer has to take some time getting rid of the pallet before moving forward. This one is not the safest, so you better hold W, and that's exactly what Misery's survivor is going to do. And there it is in the back end for generators. 5 generators completed even so. Misery not only going to take the win by the tie condition broken by the penalty, they're making sure that they also take some outs here. And Hugh, let me tell you, Misery playing Survivor on the Survivor side right now and being so strong, they are going to come into the Blight set with wide shoulders as well.
Yeah, especially because, you know, you take what I think a lot of people would have considered a risk on this Singularity pick. That pays off for you, and it looks like your communication and your rotations were on point. And we know that when we go into a set like the Blight, where, I mean, it's one of the cream of the crop killers for almost every team that you play against, you know they're going to be bringing the heat, so you got to be that much more in tune on the survivor side. So a good start for Misery. Can they keep it up in the Blight set? That is yet to be seen. We'll be bringing that set to y'all, though, right after a quick break.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the Blight on ARP, second edition of the day. Let's see how Arima, in my opinion, a known Blight player, if I remember correctly, is going to start into this trial, and the answer is quite good. Abby is going to take the first injury. Shout out to Abby, match official in DBDL, and with that to all the team in the background working so hard to bring this event to you. But back to the chase, we see the next survivor already, but a stun coming out, and this is quite important. But Q, could we say that this pallet got applied to his forehead?
Applied straight to the forehead. Get stupid. You even saw with enough anger he wanted to actually go ahead and break chase completely. Ends up going to go ahead and find them back over here by the shack, but the reset's already come across on the survivor that you initially found and were able to enter. But this is now another piece of utility basically for our survivors here that's already down, and that one out of the way, and it's going to be on the side of the map that we're probably going to be seeing this end game at, since these are the corrupt gens.
And once again a whiff, unfortunately. The injuries already healed here, so Misery not allowing Arima to take any early pressure. Of course, you do sacrifice a little bit of gen pressure here, but 90 seconds into the game without a down is quite impressive against the Blight on ARP. We do see that Arima is trying to go for the first, well, yeah, basically once again an injury here onto Blight 4 does achieve that, but Corrupt Intervention running out by default against the Blight, that is rare, Q.
Yeah, that means you're off to a good start over on that Survivor side. We had talked about after their performance on the Deadest of Dogs that they were going to have the ability in set number 2 to come out here, and they get to be the ones to set the pace. They're the ones who get to go ahead and put that pressure here on to our Blight killer. You're talking about now 2 minutes probably, almost getting closer to 2 minutes, 15 seconds where you've been in this trial and no one's down. Yeah, you could look down the bottom left-hand corner and say, hey, where are my generators? But if I had any sort of guess, here from our survivors of Misery, we're about to be seeing 2 of them popping off back to back.
Absolutely. There's no way that he's getting away with such a long chase time. Knowing Misery, they are efficient. There's the answer. 1 generator the least, but that's it.
Back to back? Back to back?
Okay, that is...
Looks like it.
Yeah, that is a Misery, to be honest, because you mentioned it, 2 minutes and 15 seconds, 2 minutes and 30 seconds if we include the hook timer there. And in 2 minutes 30, yeah, they had to heal 1 injury or so, but they don't have any generator with percentages and getting only 1 objective done. Teamed up in 2 minutes and 30 seconds. That is something that you cannot do in DBDLeague when you are playing in one of these tournaments against the best teams of the globe. And you can also not do it against the Blight, as he can punish inefficiency like that.
Yeah, I mean, even if we're talking where if my estimation was a little bit closer, we're talking, even if it's down close to the 2 minute mark, you figure at least 2 gens. Yeah, you got the reset. Now what you are going to see the broken status onto Cheese, since this is the first hook, and we can only assume that's the second win. You got to see if you can track down the Fang before that. With a hit here from Ducky, that should buy the distance for Cheese. Cheese should be able to heal themselves here. You can see, though, trying to close the distance before that happens. Not going to be able to find them. There's the heal across the Fung, which means now you got to break chase and find either Apply to Forehead or Ducky to try and get yourself another hook stage.
Now we are going to see Abby taking the next injury. Looked a little bit unexpected here, so might need to deal with an uncomfortable position. 2 survivors are here, but very, very nice play by Ducky, delaying it a little bit longer. We do see a little bit of ranker info coming out there. Second generator of the trial. Still feel like should be a little bit more. It seems like Arima is opting to go for the basement that I was about to say. That seems to be quite a long distance.
That'd be a journey.
So, yeah, going back to this jungle gym here definitely being the good decision. Putting this generator back to 0. Might need to check in the nearby surroundings because we might have a rescuer already coming over, but 9, we see the reset on Apply to Forehead, so Misery Survivor potentially hiding somewhere around the main building here, trying to get rid of the injuries. Ducky chilling on the hook. Abby not receiving a heal just yet, so might need to be the one that's staying a little bit more careful here.
You know what's interesting is before we had seen our Blight player come down here to try and find the reset, which would have made sense. I was thinking because of the fact that you still have a 3-gen, I would have not have left this bottom side of the map. Now very unfortunate that you find no one on your trip where you extend towards that top side of the map. Kind of surprised that we haven't seen the unhook come across here. Might have been a missed opportunity. And now it might be just a little too late as far as working towards the gens. But we see why, as Ducky going to be able to jump off the hook right in front of his face. Not going to be able to make their way to the window, though. Now going to be trying to play the waiting game here. Unfortunately, going to get stunned on the wrong side of the pallet. Is going to have to use that thing to double on back. Ducky got to be able to stay up on his feet here. But instead, good job to make sure that you allow no more distance. He makes the window, though, Dyer. There's nothing back here, unfortunately. It's just going to be a comp corner down.
Comp corner down, straight onto it. Deliverance, definitely a great pressure here for team. Yeah, a lot of space. I was just about to say the same. This time, we are going to expect some objectives. It seems like now they're actually having 2 generators prepared here. So that is a really, really good move. 4 generators in exchange for 3 hook stages, and not having the survivor killed yet is still a good result. If Misery is able to keep that up, then we might see a couple of stages walking out of the door here.
And you can even see here now looking across the way with one of those last 2 gens that got complete, you lose your 3 gen over here. The 4th gen that pops actually leaves it so the last gen is all the way across the map. So realistically, they could allow Ducky to sit on that hook there and just go ahead and full send this thing, especially with the value that the generators have in the scoring system here for this tournament, right? I feel like that just might be the decision.
And there's going to be Nancy with the tag. Evie taking it. Ducky will, however, be rescued. Not entirely sure if that was the trade here, because Ducky will maximum make it to Shaq. So Karima could be straight at the back. You have a fresh hook as well. Yeah, it all depends on the generator on the top side, but if they have it close to completion, you might not have made the best move. Let's see if it's going to pay out, but I don't hear the most progress. A little bit. But with Pop Goes to Weasel, Arima actually staying in control here. So yeah, Misery with a lot of more work to do. Arima fighting back. For me, still not in the dominant position here. 4 hook stages are definitely not enough to control the match as Blight. And he also kind of loses a little bit of time by reverting decisions, such as finding the correct hook or going to go for the outside of the map, trying to find a survivor while there is no one. So Arima also not playing the most efficient here.
Yeah, Misery actually doing, I would say, a decent job. Whoever was on the top side that had some progress kicking on that gen, doing a good job of playing immersive. It allowed for a full reset across the way here, and it looked like Arima might have had at least a very loose 3 gen. There wasn't much gen progress on them. Now with everyone fully reset, you know you've got at least one person on that top side. More than likely, one of the reset survivors will also move that way. You need to make sure this next gen, or this next chase, is very, very quick. Luckily, there's not very many resources down here, but we saw 2 survivors onto the generator on the top side. Nice swing and miss. There's gonna be generator number 5. Makes the window as well. Serving the juice out here is Abby.
That is really insane. Nancy on the run here. Abby shining. Team DBDLeague for the win,
Smart.
we could say.
Smart.
Yeah, that's a very smart decision. Going all the way in the basement, going to jump down there. Unfortunately, didn't make it to the locker, forcing the pick, but I totally agree with you, Q. However, Ducky wants to be really safe here because of the Rancor, but especially applied to forward our Adam. If he would get out of the door as a fresh hook against the Blight, Q, that would be so huge.
Oh, they were able to track down Cheese. Now, while Cheese isn't necessarily your most points-worthy survivor right now, you are able to get a injury here. That is a survivor that has a med kit, unfortunately, so they will be able to heal themselves. We also have Abby getting picked up off of the ground in the basement, and there's Apply to Forehead. Probably the one survivor that I'm not sure I would have been sending in for the pickup here. Luckily, they're right by the door. The question is, can Adam get there, or do they end up sacrificing a fresh hook?
And this is what I meant, Q, when we were in Deadlock Saloon. Sometimes when it's looking good for survivor teams, they are getting a little bit ahead of themselves, and then they are going to take a risky play that is not paying out. And if Applied for it doesn't make it out, Q, then there was, sorry for wording it hard, but then they wasted points.
I mean, I think the thought process is maybe just with knowing the Rancor and maybe hoping that it didn't work out in the way that it did, but I don't understand why you leave Apply to Forehead here. Instead, you're going back to Abby. Now you're allowing your survivor that is fresh hook to potentially get away for free. Now you're also chasing Ducky here. Ducky is your Rancor survivor, and they've got a flashlight in their hand. One survivor forced out. Are they going to go ahead and go for Adam? No, they're not. Ducky should be able to get out here. The question then becomes, where is Apply to Forehead?
Where is Applied to Forehead? Yeah, that is going to be the ultimate question.
Oh,
he's on the other door, and at least he is safe. Okay, so then not a Misery in the end game. They are getting the important survivor out of the door. 4 stages are walking out. That's definitely, yeah, absolutely. And they are lucky that this paid out. And I'm telling you, later on in the tournament, when you're playing against teams with even more experience, you might face a killer who's not going to let that opportunity slip. So maybe he also wasn't aware in that moment that Applied to Forehead is a fresh hook, but so or so we are going to have quite a couple of stages going out of his door. I believe 6 stages on 3 survivors. Yeah, so that means you can either do 6 stages on 4 survivors as Team Misery, or 7 stages on 3 survivors in the upcoming game. So 6 or 7 stages queue for a Blight doesn't sound horrible.
I mean, it's not horrible, but we saw how easy things can turn around as far as in favor for a survivor. The very first couple of chases will really let us know if we got the potential of seeing the ghost phase. I know you said it as well as I did. We'd love to see it get to that point, as long as ghost phase only does see, one full set, right? But we'll have to find out as far as the decision to our Blight set right after a quick break. All right, let's go ahead and take another trip here back into the fog. We're in trial number 4 here, Euphoria versus Misery on the ARP. Ducky out here on the Blight, and gotta make sure that you can find your first survivors relatively quickly here. You want to make sure that you can get some progress going in the early game. We had saw how easy it is. Well, I shouldn't say easy, but for the players that are, obviously playing here today, how quickly they can turn things into their favor. Sprinto Bursto cuz allows Easy Elysium to be able to avoid the first M1, and we're starting our first chase.
First chase is so important, especially when Misery's killer doesn't need that many hook stages, at least for a Blight 6 or 7, depending on how many fresh hooks here, and that is not the early game you're looking for. Easy Elysium, unfortunately, on an outsider palette of the ARP, taking an unexpected injury, and then things are falling apart very quickly. Good news, Corrupt Intervention is not in the trial anymore, but I don't think they can be happy about that right now.
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, we can even see here on screen now, our furthest progressed gen is, 25% across the way. We do have one survivor that's pretty well set up for the save as well. The question is, can our Dwight stay out of view? Get stunned stupid, plus 10 wood added to the face. Ducky's gonna go ahead and try and play around this tile. Life is indeed life here, and you can see the distance is made. No additional injury, but they are going to go ahead and see Ducky doubling back for the tunnel out.
And that is a very understandable decision here. Easy Elysium went down very quickly into the trial. Ducky winning the mind game as well, so pick up, and that is not going to be a flashlight save either. That's going to be the second hook stage relatively quickly, and I'm telling you, if he's able to remove Easy Elysium from the trial at 4 or 3 generators, then it's going to be so much more difficult for Euphoria here. So they need to rescue, they need to keep that survivor safe, and Easy Elysium better goes on a very long run in the mid game.
Yeah, we're gonna see though, Ducky's gonna at least take a second here to apply the pop. Goes the Weasel, you earned yourself the regression on the gen. You might as well use it here, trying to count down the time here for that built-in borrowed time. Gonna continue closing the distance here onto Easy Elysium. Easy Elysium should, get stunned stupid. That's a head-on here to be able to create some additional distance. Can they continue to allow Easy Elysium to get to safety? It doesn't look like so. Ducky closes the distance, and inevitably Nia is going to be on the ground.
Nia on the ground here, and that is going to be more pressure for Ducky, who is aware that Ace is just around the corner. That's going to be the next injury. So not only are they in danger because Easy Elysium is going to be eliminated, they are also risking quite a lot here, and it's understandable because you really don't want to say goodbye to your teammate that early, but you might also need to accept that it's going to happen, and then you rather put the efficiency into the generators than getting an injury. We do see 2 generators have been completed. That's all the progress for now. 3 hook stages out of 6 if we have all 4 survivors of the hook, or 7 hook stages across 3 survivors. But Ducky definitely on a run here. 4 more stages and you're moving into the second round.
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like at one point early on in the trial, in trial number 3, Dyer, we were asking Misery where the gen progress was, but even more so here in trial number 4 for Euphoria. You've already lost one of your teammates here. You've got one survivor that is still injured. I feel like we should have at least seen a 3rd gen by now. We talked about how easy of a condition this was. You had to play it safe, but at the same time, you have to be able to get all of the gens done in order to get that many stages out the door. And unfortunately, they just weren't able to keep up with the pressure that Ducky was able to put out from the word go.
Yeah, I have to agree. Now we do see a little bit more going on here on this side. Are they going to able to go for a longer run? We would hope so, because we would really like to see some recovery by Euphoria here. Looks good, dropping one pallet now, having quite some distance around these trucks here. Might be able to pull something off, but we really need another pallet, and Ace just has the open field here, so that's not going to... Oh, there's actually one pallet left, and even taking quite a confident run here, and especially after being hit through the this time. They are playing a little bit risky, right?
Yeah, I'm wondering if they didn't realize that they were still exhausted and were expecting maybe the dead heart back there because they were kind of sitting in the pallet for a minute. Not sure what happened there. Unfortunate, because that is going to be a down. That is fresh hook number 2. However, we do see that a survivor has been able to set up relatively quickly for this save, and it looked like our last survivor, I think, was working on this furthest gen back here. Yeah, this generator back here at Shack, that thing's knocking like a board in the middle of the winter. This thing's just getting ready to go, and that would be generator at least number 3, but that does tighten in the gen spread a little bit here. And when it's a 3v1, you got to make sure that you can build these, like, the distance as big as possible so you can make more room. Even with the double speed, Ducky can basically go coast to coast here.
Ducky is going to receive such a support right now also in the VC of Team Misery. Gets juked here by Rima. Nice move. This little bit of additional space you're fighting for as the team is really important right now. You need some additional seconds to go for the generators, so Ducky needs to make sure that he doesn't overextend this chase. Needs to hit Kate any second here. Arima, however, doing a good job. Takes the hit intentionally now to make it further towards the top side. We should have a couple of pallets right here. There's one. He does get the stun. Ducky didn't expect that turnaround there. So Arima really shining right now.
Yeah, buying some big time here. Now going to be working around the tractor. Another swing. That's going to be another plus 10 wood added to the forehead. Arima going to try and use the check spots to make this loop as useful as possible without the resource. You can see even going up in the tractor, probably going to fake once. Nope, doesn't fake the once, but does have the balance landing to be able to build some distance. Now also here too with the time. This could be brilliant with the inner heel. No, you don't have enough time for the inner heel. Unfortunate now.
That would be insane. If he would have been able to pull that off mid-chase, that would have been phenomenal. Unfortunately, just 2 seconds missing there, but we do get 2 generators done, and out of nowhere, 7 hook stages is quite far. We need 2 more minimum, only 1 more gen. Doesn't look bad for Ducky, but also not too confident right now.
Okay, I have to go back to that last play because you know how sometimes we see like Blights almost try and get to where the end of that animation is, and then they go again so they can go for the swing. If you would have been able to bait out one of those from Ducky, that actually would have worked. That would have been, that's like one of those things that shows how sometimes at this level, like it's a difference of inches. It's a difference of just a couple of seconds from some of these plays really paying off.
Yeah, true. And it was fair to expect that, right? I feel like it is really fair to expect that because Blights are pulling it so often. But there's going to be the one for our 3rd survivor overall now. 6 stages on 3 survivors. So 1 more would be the win for Team Misery here. Let's see if we can get that done. Euphoria, on the other hand, they need to get the final generator out of the way. They need to unhook this survivor. They cannot allow an additional hook stage, so Q, the to-do list is quite long.
Yeah, and at this point, knowing that you're just a hook stage away, Ducky has the ability, the benefit of time here, right? Because they could pop the gen and both of them leave, and that's still not the win can. No, Ducky, I said you could stay by the hook. Yeah, right back there. There we go. You have that benefit for you, right? Because as soon as this unhook comes across, you have the ability to either, one, if you find someone out of position, which you've actually been able to do. You've been able to find Not Real over here on this top side of the map. Remember earlier, we did take some chases over here, got some of the resources removed. So by separating him by the generator that has the most progress on it, you're actually buying yourself more time here for Ducky. You can kind of flex a bit here.
You absolutely can, and Not Real is doing a good job here with this patience on the window. Really strong mind gaming. But our Blight, yeah, getting a little bit nervous maybe. You only need 1 more stage, but gotta say, Euphoria is putting up a great fight.
Oh, and then another swing and a miss at the window. This time, though, you are going to have the Spear Rush charges back. Oh, unfortunately, maybe
That
a little
looked
bit of
so
a missed
weird.
time on the dead hard, then tried to block the bump. That way they weren't going to be able to get the swing there because it was so late, but instead goes down. You can hear this generator has quite a bit of progress. Even the one that Waxets is working on the other side, but that's going to be hook stage number 7 there, which means that is technically the decision. Really good job by Ducky here to come out with a expectation in mind, knows what the goal is, and getting it done.
One person in the basement, not the worst decision here either, because you definitely don't expect someone to lurk in the basement for the upcoming save. So Arima should get that unhook, does already climb up the staircase.
Oh, Ducky is just staring in their chest, isn't he?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah,
Just
I thought that was like one of those stuck animation things, you know what I mean, where we sometimes see?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
nah, he's just chilling.
He's just vibing right there, yeah. And Arima is now going to come in. That is maximum going to be a trade. And if that's going to happen, yeah, it's going to be the case. We do see no one escapes death coming in even. So we see that Ducky was not joking around. Even if things would have fallen apart, you bring that no one escapes death to get all the necessary hook stages. So Misery not allowing any surprises.
Yeah, it turns out that our friend Ducky here does indeed know Ed. So you've got one player down on the ground chasing down Not Real as well. It looked like Waxhead was on the opposite side of the map. And realistically, you just take the out here. There's no real reason to even worry about coming back. You've already set that expectation. And I mean, at this point, Ducky's going to wrap things up. Really well done by this Misery squad.
Absolutely well done. I like that Dwight is getting out of the door here. I feel like Euphoria really deserves an escape against Misery's Blight. Euphoria has put up a great showing and has also shown us that if you keep fighting, you can make quite some surprises here. So shout out to Euphoria. We are expecting high performances from you in the lower bracket. Don't give up yet. You have a second chance. Any one of the Euphoria fans, you will see them again on Saturday as they are playing in the lower bracket round 1. And congratulations to Misery. A really, really intense and really, really well played best of 3 from them here. Misery, one of the teams that has dropped their names here and there in a couple of leagues, and they are a strong team.
They've been improving.
And I think, yeah, they have been improving. That's exactly the thing. They are coming every single time a little bit more stronger than the previous event, and that they are in the winner bracket round 2 now is really paying off all this sweat and all this training they've put into their team.